Hi, I'm Chris from AI Events, and I'm here with Chris Fendley from Mastercard, and we're pre-recording this session for our Asia ATPS time slot. And with that, I'd like to introduce Chris. And Chris, can you tell us about yourself and what's your title at Mastercard? What do you do there, and what is your background?
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Chris. Name's Chris Fendley. I'm the EVP for a group called the Commercialization Team. We look after a number of business areas, including B2B travel, obviously what we're talking about today. And I look after new verticals that leverage payments, specifically in the sort of B2B space.
Excellent.
Background is Mastercard, just over 10 years, but my background's technology and lived in Asia Pacific for 18 years.
Excellent. So, how is Mastercard seeing that COVID is affecting the airline and travel industry? So, how are your airline and travel partners being affected right now?
Look, I mean, the impact of COVID's highlighted the ever-changing landscape and the consumer uncertainty with the ability to plan for next week, next month, next year. I think what we're seeing is this is driving a need for enhanced flexibility in terms of people booking and being able to change late in the day. And I think that's certainly caused stress in the travel ecosystem. Research has shown that although travel plans may be on hold, in the immediate term, people still want to travel. I call it cabin fever. They want to get out, both from a personal and a business perspective. But we do know that in the short term, liquidity is now essential while the industry works towards improving virus hygiene across the entire travel experience. And we're all waiting to see when testing and vaccines become a reality. Mastercard's continued to show its commitment to its travel partners during the unprecedented times, and we recently released our latest Recovery Insights Travel Check-in Report, which is based on analysis of our anonymized and aggregated sales data across our global network. Look, and then, despite global airline spend being less than a tenth of the 2019 levels, by April this year, our Recovery Insights report published just recently does show a recovery and emergence of travel. I think the question we all have is how quickly is it going to come back and what is it going to look like? I think, consumer sentiment around travel is also a positive sign because, we're seeing consumer sentiment, whilst they are uncertain, there is a demand, and travel is ranked as one of the most missed things through the pandemic. So as we move to a new normal, the story won't be about how much people have stopped traveling. It'll be about their travel behaviors and how they've changed. And it's also, I think, key that the travel industry as a whole focuses on the level of service, efficiency, and customer loyalty to help drive that recovery.
Can you tell me from your perspective, what are some of the trends in the payment space that you're seeing?
I think that some of the key challenges that we see, given our role in the industry, is relating to payments. Regaining trust amongst the consumers and the travel partners and suppliers is key for any post-COVID recovery. The travel intermediaries, including travel agencies and the online travel agencies, they require better protection on consumer payments, mitigating supplier risk, and payment solutions that ultimately provide better handling of the chargeback and refund process. And we've learned from that because no one has experienced such a rapid shutting off of the business and then having the ecosystem having to deal with the level of chargebacks and refunds. Now more than ever, travel organizations, large and small, need enhanced visibility and protection over payment flows, mitigating risk. Yes, remove the pain points and costs associated with legacy payments and BSP cash.
One thing that you didn't get into, Chris, was a little bit about contactless. And I think MasterCard was leading this long before COVID, but are you seeing any adoption? Particularly hotels, I know like the touchless experience as far as check-in, airlines, maybe in the airport. So what are you guys seeing in there in terms of the contact?
Look, if you talk generally, contactless is growing across the board because it's cleaner than cash, all right, first and foremost. So COVID's helped driving that. Then it's just the simplicity of use. In a lot of markets, they've increased the limit on which you can use a contactless transaction. So that's just for the payment as a straight payment. If you now go to travel, there's definitely a drive to have what you call a contactless experience, where you can use a device potentially that also combines with your digital ID as well as your passport. And then if you think about it, you can extend that now to a health pass. So these are things we're working on to try with the industry. But no, you're right. That is definitely where the industry needs to move to. And I know across the board, companies like ourselves are looking to help drive and support the adoption of contactless, linking it to secure data in the right channel.
So,
Yeah.
and tied on that, I know that's something you're working on with the other networks. But we don't have to get it. It's like, what is it, SRC or SLC? Like the secure, it's basically
remote checkout.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sort of ties into what you just said there. That's like an industry initiative that should help facilitate that, I think.
I mean, look, SRC are the schemes in, you know, in a sense, they're coming together to give a consistent user experience for people checking out. No one looks forward to paying for something. All right. So by the time you're doing a transaction, what we learned was, as an industry, you had 2 or 3 different ways of checking out and paying. So the industry got together, designed an industry standard so that irrespective of the product you're using or the logo it's got on, the idea is to provide a consumer with a seamless transaction with as limited number of clicks or touches as you go. And that's the whole premise of SRC, is to make it more seamless for consumers to click and pay basically and quickly, instead of having a myriad of different checkout scenarios and options. Yeah. So that's
basically everyone. You can offer the Amazon experience to any merchant. But I think it ties really well into what you said with the contactless. Like if you have these concepts tied together, it should help the whole touchless experience.
You're right. It closes the whole journey. And then I think in travel especially, because I think in the short term, when you book a hotel or book a ticket for a flight, the providers are going to be interested now, has that person been tested? Do they have the vaccine? You can see this evolution. So the idea of the contactless is to streamline that process. It's not to cause people hurdles. The idea is if you can seamlessly follow that through, the consumer's data is protected. They unlock it for specific reasons. The travel provider gets, yes, they're able to fly. They don't get any details. It's just, yes, that person can fly. Yes, they can pay. Here's their boarding pass. Their passport's up to date. You know, so this whole environment is about bringing it together. Yeah.
Well, and probably COVID. We were going this way, but COVID has probably helped speed it up.
Yeah, I would never like to see there was a benefit of COVID, but what it has done, digitization as a whole. I think people have talked about digitizing processes and procedures. COVID has made that you have to do it, and for a couple of reasons. One, more people are working remotely, so you don't have people in a physical office, and so you have to make things more automated. And you're right, things like contactless payments, and then the frictionless side of things is definitely front of mind now for every company. I don't know of any other company that is not thinking, how can I run things more efficiently? Where are my inefficiency points in my process? How can I do things better? That's what COVID has done across the board. Yeah, definitely.
Yep. I mean, everyone wants to know, like the chargeback program. They're probably in a waiver right now. When's it coming back? What can you do to help us? You know, it's the #1 issue. If you're running an airline, that's your number. I mean, in terms of payments, that's
problem is you've got different types of payments all happening, and they're not consistent. They don't have a reconciliation process. So and for me, that's the fundamental issue. And then you've got an airline that receives money for a flight, which may or may not fly. You can give a voucher in some respect. You then have, or maybe a refund. And then you've just got to, how do you track all that back? And unfortunately, the ecosystem of chargebacks was designed for you when you had your Amazon shoes, they didn't turn up. So you'd ring up, say, I didn't get my shoes. They didn't expect to have 80,000 people ringing up on one day saying, I want a refund. So I think the refund, we recognize that the refund process has been stressed, but it also has highlighted that you need to have a better understanding of payments. You need to understand what data you've got, and you need to know how to. So we've all learned through this, but the key fundamental is having payment rules and processes that will work in sync. When you have part card, part BSB cash, or BSB cash, which doesn't have the same protection as cards, then you get an ecosystem that gets challenged.